breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warm-up from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family podcast. We've got ourselves an excellent podcast as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends as we're going to be chatting with Johnny Venezia. He does such a great job taking a look at all of these awards markets. We're going to be talking about the National League Rookie of the Year market and how he was able to find a lot of value there. We're going to talk a little bit about the AL MVP, the AL Cy Young Award, and then we're going to be diving in on a few guys that he's feeling a little bit bullish/bearish on as well. He does a great job with regards to college baseball, so we're going to be talking about some of these young guns with him as well, and just the mess of a playoff picture that we currently have in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, maybe does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. With EdgeBoost, 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. And when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Tuesday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Brewers squander a 6-run lead, but they still find a way to get the job done. 9-8. They take down the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you had the run line in this one, a little bit brutal as for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Gabriel Moreno was able to go deep off of the Miz Kid, Jacob Mizorowski. 7th home run season as Brandon fought. Well, he did not battle too long in this one. 6 runs allowed in 2 2/3 innings as he was completely tattooed. You had Mr. William Contreras get his 15th home run season. Then Bryce Durang, he goes deep for his 15th home run of the campaign. That comes off of John Curtis with 2 S's as Curtis, he gives up that solo run in 1 2/3 innings of work. Jake Woodford, 2 2/3 innings. He allows to run Andrew Selfrank a scoreless inning, and then Juan Murillo, he does not get a single out of the bullpen. Walks a pair, he gives up what turns out to be the winning run as Kyle Backus. He tried to hold on inherited runners, was unable to do so. Isaac Collins, a sacrifice fly, ends the game, and for the Milwaukee Brewers, bullpen not necessarily savory in this one as Mizorowski gives up 3 runs in 5 innings, punch out 10, and then from there Tobias Myers 3 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Jared Koenig, he gave up 2 runs in his inning, but Shelby Miller 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, so the Brewers do indeed get the job done. For the Miami Marlins, they entered into the 9th inning against the Atlanta Braves, tied 2-2, and they managed to lose by 9 runs. You don't find that very often. 11-2, the Atlanta Braves get the job done as for Hurston Waldrop, not long for this game, 0 strikeouts, but 1 unallowed in 5 1/3 innings, scattered 8 hits. From there, the Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. You had Dylan Lee give up a run in an inning, Tommy Kahnle a squirrel inning, and it was to the point where Wander, I swear, oh, this guy sucks, got a inning in the 9th, and Wander, I swear, oh, this guy sucks, held it down. So good job, Wander, I swear, oh, this guy sucks, which is one of my favorite nicknames, as you can tell. But that said, Ozzie Albies, he had himself a game for the Atlanta Braves. Home runs number 11 and 12 of the campaign. One comes off of Mr. Sandy Alcantara, who gave you a good start. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Kay Gibson, Tyler Phillips, they combine for a scoreless 8th inning, and then the floodgates open. Tyler Zuber gives up 2 runs in a 1/3 of an inning. Josh Simpson, he got 1 out and he gave up a 7th spot, and then it got to the point where position player Javier Sonja came into the game to get the final out of the 9th inning after the game was tied 2-2 going into that 9th inning. Not savory, to say the least. Not savory for the Baltimore Orioles offense either. 5-0, the Boston Red Sox do persevere and get the job done as Lucas Giolito. How about 8 punch-outs and 8 scoreless innings? Justin Wilson from there, a scoreless inning, and it was story time. Chapter 21 in the home run book of Trevor Story this year, and then David Hamilton, 4th home run in the campaign. Both come off of Kyle Bradish, season debut. He had 10 strikeouts in 6 innings and allowed 2 runs. Unfortunately, both were solo home runs, but not bad there. Keegan Akin from there gives up nothing in his inning of work. Yaramil Hidalgo comes in for 1 1/3 innings, allows 3 runs. Junior Cano, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but absolutely nothing doing for the Baltimore Orioles at the plate on this night. And there was absolutely nothing doing for the Tampa Bay Rays at the plate on this night. 3-0 the final is for the Cleveland Guardians. How about Parker Misick? give you 7 scoreless innings. Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith from there, both give you a scoreless inning. And for the Rays, the Wizard of Boz, Shane Baz, continues his less than savory season. Did calm down after the first inning. He gives up 3 runs in the first inning, gives up 3 runs in total over the course of 6 innings. Griffin Jacks, along with Mason Montgomery, both give you a scoreless inning, but damage by then had already been done as the Rays got nothing going. The Washington Nationals didn't get anything going against the New York Yankees. 5-1 was the final in this one, as for Washington, Mackenzie Gore does get gored, giving up 3 runs in 5 innings. Orlando Revolta gives up 2 runs over the course of an inning, as for the New York Yankees, being able to crank a deep ball off of him was Giancarlo Stanton, 17th home run season. He's getting a home run every less than 10 at-bats, by the way, as Luis Gil on the flip side for the Yankees. Boy, did he have to evade some danger. Gives up only 1 run in 5 innings, but allowed 5 hits and 4 walks. The Washington Nationals left 9 men on base. You also had Clayton Beeter and Connor Pilkington for the Washington Nationals on the scoreless inning, and for the Yankees, bullpen was solid. Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, they combined for 2 scoreless innings. Camilo Doval, David Bednar, they do not poop the Bednar. They both give you a scoreless inning. For the Blue Jays, they did poop the Bednar, as they lose to the Minnesota Twins. This by a count of 7-5, as for the Blue Jays, they enter into the 6th inning by a count of 4-0, and then from there, things went haywire, as you had a pretty solid start here from Chris Bassett. He was taking hook, line, and sinker for 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 2/3 innings, as for the Minnesota Twins, you did have a home run off the bat of Luke Keeschel, his 3rd home run in the campaign, and then Mickey Gaspers had a terrible season. For the Minnesota Twins, he goes deep off of Jeff Hoffman, his first of the campaign, and Matt Wallner, the difference maker. He was able to get home run number 20 of the campaign for Mr. Jeff Hoffman. Gives up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning, completely blows this game. Louis Varland gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Brandon Little did come up big. He had 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Anthony Dominguez, Uriel Rodriguez, both getting out of the bullpen scoreless as well. And then for George Springer, a pair of solo home runs off of Bailey Ober. 23rd and 24th home runs of the season. Ober gives up 4 runs, 10 hits over the course of 5 innings. From there, Cole Sands was able to give you a scoreless inning. Cody Funderburk and Michael Tonkin, they combined for 2 scoreless innings. And Justin Topa, he does give up a run in an inning, but the Twins, they do persevere and they get the job done. For the Colorado Rockies, they go on the road and take it to a Houston Astros team that's been not great recently. 6-1 the final, as the Rockies averaging about 2.9 runs per game away from home, but they had a home run from Hunter Goodman to help them out. 26th home run in the campaign, as Hunter Brown does give up 2 runs in 6 2/3 innings earned. He gave up 6 total runs. There were a pair of errors by Jeremy Pena that caused for 4 unearned runs. Stephen Okert from there for outside the bullpen scoreless. Caleb Bort, a scoreless inning, and you did have Mr. Asu Sanchez get his 12th home run season. That comes off Tanner Gordon, and that would be his lone mistake. Gives up a solo home run over the course of 6 innings. Jimmy Ergett, Juan Mejia, Luis Peralta, they're all able to end a scoreless inning, and the Walker Texas Rangers got bad news with Nathan Eovaldi most likely being done for the year, but the good news is they did get back to 500 with a 7-3 win over the LA Angels. For the Angels, this was not what they were hoping for Yusei Kikuchi. I say this was not a good start. 6 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, and he gives up a pair of bombs. As going deep for the Walker Texas Rangers, Kyle Gashioka, 9th home run of the campaign, and then home run number 2 of the season for the young center fielder and Michael Hellman. A little bit later on, Corey Seager gets his 20th home run season. That comes off of Sam Bachman, who gives up that home run in 2 innings of work. Chase Silva, Seth, and Ryan Zefrion both give you a scoreless inning, and for the Angels, pair of bombs in this one. Danny Kalum gave up both of them. Joe Adele sets fire to the rain, 30th home run season, and Zach Neto is 23rd as Patrick Corbin. 8 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts. From there, Danny Kalum gives up those 2 bombs. He only got 1 out, gave up 3 runs, and Phil Matone cleaned things up. He got the final 2 outs of the game out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Rangers, still one of your best under teams at all of baseball. 58 overs, 74 unders, and 2 pushes, but this was a rare over for them, and they're so really, really good to the under at home. For the Texas Rangers, 24 overs, 43 unders, and a push when they've been at home thus far this season. And the Royals have been a really good under team thus far this season. They do get the job done by a count of 5-4 against the Chicago White Sox, so they were able to get you a very rare over as well for the Royals thus far this season. 58 overs, 73 unders, and 2 pushes, as Michael Lorenzen was lit ablaze in this one. Gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the White Sox was Colson Montgomery, 14th home run season, as Martin Perez. Really good start here. Allows 1 hit in 7 scoreless innings, and then the bullpen completely yacked this game away. Jordan leisurely gets 2 outs, and he gives up 2 runs. Grant Taylor gives up 3 runs while getting 2 outs out of the bullpen. Tyler Alexander does not get a single out of the bullpen. Steven Wilson from there cleans up the mess. He gets a pair of outs and is able to hold on inherited runners, but for the Royals, their bullpen was royally good. John Schreiber, Taylor Clark, Sammy Long, and Carlos Aceves all on a scoreless inning, so the Royals, they do get the job done, and the Pittsburgh Pirates get the job done. they've been a really good under team as well. About 56 overs, 72 unders, and 5 pushes for them. 8-3 the final is. For Andre 3000 Palante, he very nearly gave up 3,000 runs, giving up 8 runs, 7 of which were earned over the course of 5 innings, and he allows a home run to a Pirates team that really doesn't have a lot of power. As for the Pirates, Henry Davis, 6th home run in the campaign. Mitch Keller wasn't amazing in this one. 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Not terrible. Nolan Gorman, 13th home run in the campaign, and both bullpens were relatively solid. You had Grayson Garcifo give you 2 scoreless innings. Oriel Alcala, Ryan Fernandez, scoreless inning apiece for the St. Louis Cardinals. And for the Pirates, Kyle Nicholas, 2 scoreless innings, and Isaac Madsen was able to polish off the 9th inning scoreless as well. For the New York Mets, back-to-back wins over the Philadelphia Phillies, 6-5 the final in this one. As for the Philadelphia Phillies, this was not what they were hoping for out of the bullpen, as Jesus Luzardo, not what they were hoping for in terms of his start. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. From there, Orion Kirkring gives up a run in an inning. Tanner Banks, Matt Strahm, Jose Alvarado lend a scoreless inning, but Yohan Duran does not get a single out. He gives up 4 hits, including the game winner as Brandon Nimmo, his RBI single, is able to end it. And for the Phillies, you did have Harrison Bader go deep out for Ryan Elsley, who has been absolutely terrible for the Mets. 14th home run in the campaign. As for the Metropolitans, the team wins this game going 5-10 with men in scoring position. Sean Manaea, not a lot of length, 8 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings, so he cashed the K prop, but gave up 2 runs and did not make it a full 5. You had from there Gregory Soto get an out of the bullpen squirrels. Oscar Brazoban gives up a run in an inning. Tyler Rogers gives up nothing in his inning of work. Ryan Elsley gives up that bomb, 2 runs allowed in a third of an inning. And Edwin Diaz had to get 5 outs out of the bullpen with 4 strikeouts to be able to get the Mets the win. So, yay, verily there. And the San Francisco Giants were able to get the job done against the Chicago Cubs. This by a count of 5-2 as Justin Verlander did a nice job of being able to bend but not break in this one. As for the Cubs, they ran 8 men on base with Matthew Boyd having one of his worst starts of the season, giving up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, a lot of pair bombs. Matt Chapman his 17th home run season, and Wilmer Flores his 14th home run season. For Verlander, gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. Joey Lucchesi, Jose Buto from there combined for 2 scoreless innings, and Ryan Walker, he was able to supply a scoreless inning as Drew Pomeranz pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless for the Cubs. And then you had Taylor Rogers along Jordan Wicks both be able to supply a scoreless inning. Do have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, so doing this as some of the very late games are still in the balance. Dodgers should be able to get the job done against the Reds in this one. It is 6-3 going into the top of the 9th inning. As for the Reds, this was not what they were hoping for. Nick Martinez gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 1/3 innings, and he did allow a home run along the way as Mr. Will Smith was able to get jiggy with it, 16th home run in the campaign. And for Clayton Kershaw, 6 strikeouts, 1 run allowed in 5 innings, a little bit of Clayton Kershaw from the vintage form there, and Blake Tryon along with Eduardo Enriquez were both able to give you a scoreless inning. Ben Casparis, he's had a rough go of it recently. He does give up 2 runs in an inning, and he gives up a home run to Austin the Say's kid, 11th home run in the campaign. And then for the Reds out of the bullpen, you did have Brent Suter give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. You were able to get 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well out of Zachary Maxwell. I believe that was his MLB debut. And then Connor Phillips, he was able to keep things scoreless in the 8th inning. For the San Diego Padres, they entered in the 9th inning against the Seattle Mariners up by a count of 7-6. As this was a game in which we saw the Seattle Mariners put up a 6 spot in the 5th inning. If you had the San Diego Padres first 5, they were up 5-0 going into that bottom of the 6th inning. And then Dylan Cease did what Dylan Cease has been doing all season long. Gave up a bunch of runs, 4 1/3 innings. He allows 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run, as you had Randy Arozarena get his 25th home run season. Then Eugenio Suarez off of Jason Adam, he was able to get his 41st home run in the campaign. Adam gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Adrian Morejon, Mason Miller, Jeremiah Estrada all in a scoreless inning, and I have to think that Robert Swartz is probably going to be coming in that 9th inning. Meanwhile, Ramon Laureano does go deep off of Luis Castillo, a grand slam for his 21st home run season. Castillo's rough season continues, 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Caleb Ferguson from there gives up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Gabe Spire, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. As of right now, Edward Bazardo is giving you a scoreless inning, and Carlos Vargas pitched a scoreless 8th inning, right now looking to do so in the 9th as well. And then we're in the bottom of the 8th inning when it comes to A's versus the Detroit Tigers. As of right now, this game stands 5-5, so you're going to get another over out there in Sacramento. As Charlie Morton, not great in this one, as he gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the A's, you were able to get home run number 12 of the campaign from Jacob Wilson, welcome back off the injured list. And Osvaldo Bido was pretty much an opener in this game, gives up 4 runs over the course of 3 innings, including a home run. As Going deep for the Detroit Tigers, you had home run number 32 of the campaign for Riley Green, and then Cole Keith off of Justin Cerner, who he gives up a home run in 1 1/3 innings. He was able to get home run number 12 of the campaign for Mr. Cerner, would give up only that solo home run over the course of 1 1/3 innings of work, actually 1 2/3 innings of work, and then from there, Hogan Harris, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, Michael Kelly as well, and Tyler Ferguson for outside the bullpen scoreless, and as of right now for the Detroit Tigers, Tyler Melton won it in 3 shutout innings coming out of the bullpen, so we'll see how that game materializes. And then if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has overall for the season been an underwhelming campaign, but if you look at the last 30 days, things have been very overwhelming. How about 203 overs to 167 unders? That's a 54.9% hit rate to the over, while favorites on the money line hitting at about 57.3%, relatively representative of what we've seen this season. 223 and 166 on the money line season to date. Favorites are hitting at about 57%, 1,117, 843 on the money line. Overall for the season, underrated is more around 51.2%, 968 unders to 924 overs. And if you're looking at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, this was with the late games for Tuesday still pending, 54 and 37 on the money line. That's 59.3% for favorites. And then the over rate at 58.1%, 50 overs to 36 unders with a few pushes along the way. So that's what we're all seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're getting trend-wise. Coming in next, how about if we chat with Johnny Venezia? He does great work over at Rotowire, does great work with the Breaking Bet podcast. We're going to be talking about some of these player awards, we're going to be talking about some of these young guns, and the mess of a playoff picture that we've got right now in Major League Baseball. That's on the flip side right here on the Baseball Betting Show. It's myself, Greg Peterson, and now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to get this man aboard, as we've got Johnny Venezia aboard. He does a tremendous job with his own podcast, the Breaking Bet podcast. You're able to find that podcast wherever you get this fine podcast. He does a tremendous job over at Rotowire, does a tremendous job on the baseball front, though I know that he's getting into a little bit of football as well. The NFL season is less than 10 days away, so he's doing a great job of preparing us on that front. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at @ the name Johnny, and then VTV all together. And Johnny, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
My guy, what's going on? Appreciate you having me, dude.
I always appreciate you joining me, Johnny, and I appreciate the fact that you do such a great job on these awards markets. And we'll start right there, because the last time you were on, we were talking about the National League Rookie of the Year market, and you were actually talking up Agustin Ramirez at the time. You were saying that there might be a little bit of value there. He's pretty much at the same number as we were talking about before, but the guy that is really starting to be able to climb up the board, because you were talking about fading Drake Baldwin, and rightfully so, is Cade Horton. Here's a who. When you tweeted it out, you were getting about plus 450 on that number. We shall see how Horton does in his next start, but talk to me about this awards market and just what Cade Horton has been able to bring to the table, because last month or so, he's actually been one of the best pitchers in all baseball.
Greg, I gotta correct you there. I gave him out at 25 to 1.
And then it lowered to plus 450.
I'll take you through it. So it was, I want to say Saturday morning. Might have been Sunday. I'd have to go back and look. But regardless, he was 25 to 1. I didn't agree. I didn't really understand that number, especially considering what he's done over the course of the year, and especially towards the end of the year. Like for the awards, when it's close, like what you've done lately really carries a lot of weight. I took all that into account. And I just said 25 to 1 makes no sense. So I hit that hard, and then I tweeted it out. So I hit it pretty much after he wrapped up a fantastic start at the Angels, and it didn't move. And I really didn't get it. I played it, I tweeted it out, and then within 6 hours, that was down to 450. And then within another hour after that, he was the favorite sub 2 to 1. I want to preface it by saying Cade Horton was like 11 to 1 before his start a week ago, and he left because of a blister injury. And that scared a lot of people. There was uncertainty. Was he going to go on the injured list? And then it was revealed he wasn't. He was going to make his start on Friday, and it still was like 30 to 1, and it stayed there. And realistically, if that blister thing doesn't happen, we're still probably seeing Cade Horton in the single digits here. But that whole thing really threw a wrench into it, and the market didn't correct itself. And now it has. Honestly, listen, I think Drake Baldwin I mean, he's having a good season, but, he doesn't play every day, and he's kind of lost some steam. Like, he hits a home run here or there to kind of keep him in there. And Isaac Collins, dude, don't get me wrong. These guys are having solid rookie years, but this is not an NL Rookie of the Year type of season. This is a guy that's batting around 270 with 8 home runs. And let's call it what it is. He's a 28-year-old rookie. We need to really institute some sort of criteria where you can't be near pushing 30 to win a Rookie of the Year award. But, Greg, I'll say this. Regardless if Cade Horton wins or not, which I think he has a strong case to, he's got to finish strong, clearly, because this award was always in flux. Like, I had Chase Burns, but the innings limit just killed him. But in truth, man, like, getting that number, it doesn't matter if he wins or not. That's what betting is. That's seizing the value and understanding an incorrect market price. It doesn't always work out in your favor, but if you play that strategy over the long term, you will be successful in the futures markets. And when you hit them hard, all it takes is 1 or 2 to really set you up for an opportunity to really make some serious money with a fat bankroll. And by the way, this is why it's so important to follow college baseball. This is why. Because I watched Cade Horton 3 years ago and understood what kind of player he was, I was able to see that. Same thing with Nick Kurtz. Grab Nick Kurtz from the jump right when he got called up because I knew what I had seen for 3 years in college. Paying attention to college baseball will really help you win long-term in the Rookie of the Year markets, and betting these guys in the early part of their careers for like strikeout props and certain awards like that. It just gives you such a leg up. And even the sports books don't understand the magnitude of the talent of some of these players.
Yep, and I know you talked about Nick Kurtz for a very long time back when I was doing more regular overnight shows, so I know that that's a guy that you've been very bullish on for a long time. And is that part of what drives you just a little bit more to the futures market rather than betting a little bit more individual games? Because you just laid it out, the fact that there's a lot more volatility and there's a lot more better numbers that you can get with regards to futures number, whereas on a game-to-game line, like if you're looking at the insert your favorite team here on the money line, the difference between minus 110 to a minus 125 at a sports book is very significant, whereas in the futures market, you might have one guy at 10 to 1 at one book, and at the next book, they might be like 20 to 1. That's double the value.
Yeah, exactly. I've always gravitated more towards futures. Don't get me wrong. Like, I still give out my MLB plays, but the truth is, man, it's hard. Like, it's a grind on a day-to-day basis, but you're also dealing with so many factors. Like, you're dealing with bullpens. You're dealing with fluke things. Like, baseball's a game of failure where the batters are designed to be
sometimes the umpire costs you the bet.
Exactly, man. It's hard on it. There's just so much variance in baseball on a day-to-day, whereas over the course of a season, the futures can really pan out for you because you see something ahead of time. Now, obviously, voters, it's subjective, but I just feel like when you are able to follow these young players in college or in high school, whatever it is, it gives you an advantage because I'm comfortable in saying I have an advantage over 99% of any market or anybody in the mainstream media when it comes to these college players, because nobody obsesses like I do with that sport. Like, I'm in it every single weekend, all weekend, following every game, every player. Like, it's what I do. That's my grind. Where, like, you get a lot of people that tune in for the College World Series, or like maybe they'll watch a game here or there. It just helps out in projecting what these guys are for the future. And for somebody like Cade Horton, dude, I was waiting 3 years for this guy to get called up. Like, I've built up a pretty good pipeline of college players now. Like, I've circled a lot of these guys where I can't wait for them to get up to the major league so I can bet them. To be honest, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't bet Cade Horton for NL Rookie of the Year when I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. It just gives you such an advantage, and it's such a winnable market, especially like, dude, you look at the NL Rookie of the Year. This was a mess this year. It was definitely not as competitive as I thought it would be. A lot of my guys didn't either have the season I thought. Like Chase Dollander, I thought he was going to be a dog this year. It didn't work out. Chase Burns, he didn't get an early enough call up, and when he did, which I still thought he could have won, he gets slapped with a phantom innings tag. Quinn Matthews from St. Louis, who I think is a big player next year in this market, he didn't get called up. There's definitely a list of players that I have circled in my mind every year now, because a lot of these guys that I was watching in 22, 23, even 24 are all starting to get called up. And that's just what really helps you out. And it gives you so much more knowledge. I mean, dude, Cade Horton at the beginning of the year was like 80-1 to win the award. But you didn't know when he'd get called up. And that's obviously half the battle. But you really think about it. Well, I won the NL Rookie of the Award last year with Paul Skeens at 45-1 because I'd seen Skeens every single start at LSU in 2023. So I'm at Air Force. I'm going to hit Nick Kurtz this year because I saw him play for 3 years at Wake Forest. I might hit Cade Horton NL Rookie of the Year. Like, this is the stuff that really matters. And this is the big difference in cashing a big number versus losing because you just weren't familiar with somebody that played at a big program in college's game.
Yep, and to your point, someone like a Jacob Marcy, if he gets called up a little bit sooner, maybe we're seeing him being able to rise up, but unfortunately he didn't get quite that call up. But also to your point as well, these guys that they're able to rise up in terms of college baseball, they have been able to provide instant dividends right away, and teams have been more and more, it just feels like, willing to call these guys up a little bit sooner than they have been in the past, and it's been paying off for those teams as well. As Johnny Venezia, who does such great work over at Rotowire and the Breaking Bet podcast, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And one of the guys that you mentioned in passing is going to be actually on the bump on Wednesday. That'd be Chase Dollander. And I think that this is an interesting game between the Rockies and the Astros, where there's a lot of value in terms of that total of 8. Like, I just can't bring myself to betting on the Rockies on the money line on the road because, as we know, this is a Rockies team that they just don't hit away from Coors Field. When they go from elevation to sea level, it just does not happen for them. But take us through Chase Dollander, a guy that I have not been willing to back when he's been at Coors Field. But on the road, I think that you'd agree with me, has been a pretty serviceable pitcher thus far this season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, dude, the truth is, like, Dolly is one of my day one incubator guys. This is a guy that I said in 2022, if this kid doesn't win at least 2 Cy Youngs, his career is a letdown. Obviously, he goes to Colorado. That throws a wrinkle into things. I just think there's some like technical things he needs to clean up. But, bro, the stuff's there, man. And the strikeouts really haven't resulted in what it was in college, but he's got swing and miss stuff. I just think he took a step back in 23, and that kind of messed him up. But he's certainly got the juice. That's for sure. It's interesting to take a look at Colorado at plus 250. The strikeout props aren't up yet, but perhaps an over at 8 flat would be something that I'd consider. I think what's really hurt Dolly is when he goes like 2 or 3 times through the order, and then he gets a little cute with his fastball. He did that at Tennessee where he just throws the fastball like 60% of the time, and then a lot of times he just grooves one because he throws 98, 99. He thinks he's going to get it by a hitter. And then Framber Valdez, I mean, Colorado hitters are sneaky. You get a couple guys that could put one over the wall, short porch it in the Crawford boxes. I think this could be a little geared towards a higher scoring, but I would be interested to see what Dolly's strikeout prop is. I mean, that might be even 3.5, something I would look at on the over. So that's probably how I would preview this Wednesday game. And hey, man, listen, you never know. This kid might have a big start in Houston, and you're getting a plus 250 dog on the money line in Houston. And it's definitely something that I could see happen if he has a big game.
Yep, I remember Brandon Young was going up against the Astros a few weeks ago, rookie for the Baltimore Orioles, and he had himself a no-hitter through 7 innings. So it certainly is possible with this Houston Astros team, and I mean, that's a team I think is interesting in an American League that I feel like it's one of the most open leagues I've ever seen. The Red Sox have been able to rise up a little bit, but they have their flaws. The Detroit Tigers were a team that a lot of people were high on towards being a part of the season. They have fallen off a little bit as well. I'm liking these Seattle Mariners, but they're a little bit of an all-or-nothing team. Just how do you take a look at these playoff races right now? Because you mentioned the National League Rookie of the Year award being a mess. It feels like the entire playoff picture at this point is a mess in both the National League and the American League.
Dude, who are you kidding? It's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, the Tigers are the favorite right now to win the AL. I don't know, dude. I mean, listen, anytime you throw Tariq Skubal out there, it's really tough to get to him, although the A's did a pretty good job of doing that, even though, some statistical analysis here only had Skubal at 1 earned run to a couple. I didn't see the errors by any chance, so I don't really.
They were rough errors.
Yeah, I mean, still, that's just the letter of the law. But Skubal got touched. Give up a grand slam to Shea Bangaliers, baby.
Shea Bangs.
But I got to be honest, man. Like, I need to see it from the Tigers. I know they've had a good year, and they've just been a model of consistency overall in the AL Central. Toronto is a team that I went on with some of our guys, my guy PJ Glasser and Jared Smith. around the All-Star break. I like Toronto to win the AL East. I just didn't believe in the Yankees. Seattle, bro, I don't know how many times I got to get burned on Seattle. I had them in back-to-back years, I think in 22 and 23. But the problem is this, man. Like, yeah, they can pitch, dude. They can, but their offense, I mean, it's a little bit of a fluke. I mean, Cal Raleigh putting up a 50-plus homer season. You got Julio, who's a dog. Randy Rosarina can really hit the ball as well. But Seattle's problem offensively has always been the swing and miss. And when you play ball in October, bro, you can't swing and miss like that. The teams that win and the teams that advance are the ones that put the ball in play and cut down on the strikeouts. And Seattle every year is always one of the most strikeout-prone teams, and that's why they have a tough time advancing. I just don't know if I can buy them. You referenced it with their all or nothing. The Yankees, I don't buy. I mean, listen, bro, you've got 5 teams that are 5-2 or less to win the AL. It's nuts. And it sucks because, honestly, I really like the Texas Rangers coming into the year. I thought they were going to have a big year. Their offense just never really got going. They're pitching now. They lost Nady Eovaldi, and I just don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. The other team that I liked coming into the year in the AL was Boston. I felt like Boston was going to be able to do enough with Garrett Crochet, and he's having a Cy Young kind of year. The talent's there for Boston. Roman Anthony's gotten going. I'm still of the belief that Boston can get in and make that run, and you have a legitimate ace in Crochet, a guy who's pitched in big games at Tennessee. Those programs really get you ready in college to get you ready for the major leagues. And Boston right now has a slim lead in the wild card. But, dude, to be honest, I feel like Boston is a team that I would still be worried about. And it's not even just from a betting perspective, like where their number is 8-1 to win the American League. But I really do like their team. They got a legitimate ace. They got a guy in Brian Bayo who I know is a guy that you definitely liked a few years ago. Seems like for him, it's kind of clicked this year. They have a lineup that I think is going to be able to hit. You got Aroldis Chapman, who's having a big year. He's occupying that closer role right now. I just feel like there's enough juice in Boston to be able to get that done. So that's the only bet that I'd be willing to make for the American League winners right now. Just the other teams I have too many question marks on. It's a field full of question marks, and obviously some of them are going to advance. But I feel like Boston, out of all the question marks, even regardless of the price, is still probably the team that I'm looking at. Again, it might factor into the decision of making that I had Boston as one of my favorite AL preseason teams, but I'm not counting out the Red Sox, man.
Yep, with the Boston Red Sox, they have been able to do such a great job with that young talent. They don't even necessarily have that one main masher. Their top home run hitter has been Weiler Abreu, and he's currently on the injured list, but they've got a lot of guys 1 through 9 in the lineup doing a solid job. Something that I appreciate as well has been the bullpen pitching, so they've been able to do a great job on that front. When it comes to what you're all taking a look at in terms of this great game of baseball, Johnny, is there anything that you're looking to bet, whether that be in the futures market here in the next few days, or perhaps a game or two that you might be willing to fire in on Wednesday?
Well, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I think, the NL Rookie of the Year, I'm so content on right now. I'm really kind of wondering, do I want to get involved here on this AL Cy Young race between Crochet and Skubal? Whatever side you're on the fence here, Skubal's candidacy and favorite status, everybody could breathe a sigh of relief that has him because he only got charged 1 earned run. I mean, overall, it was a really strong performance. 12 strikeouts. I don't think he walked anybody. But other than that, like the NL Cy Young, I mean, Paul Skeens has been unbelievable. I feel like it's been quiet, unbelievable.
And Zach Wheeler, that was just unfortunate.
Yeah, that hurts. That award's done. The AL Rookie of the Year award's done. You missed the boat on Cade Horton if you didn't get in. The NL MVP, I don't think Ohtani's going to lose. The AL MVP is interesting. I mean, I don't know what side of the fence you're on. I mean, Raleigh's gotten on a little home run streak here the last few days. I still think Aaron Judge is going to end up winning. -110. I feel like that's a solid bet there. I think Skubal's probably going to end up winning the Cy Young, most likely. So I'd probably like Skubal and Judge to kind of run that back. But in terms of like teams, I don't really love a whole lot right now.
It's a mess.
I think it's a mess. I don't really love anything from like the World Series perspective. That's probably something I'm going to bet a little bit closer to when the field is finalized. I don't know if there's a team in the NL now that's going to take out the Dodgers with Zach Wheeler going down. Like Zach Wheeler He's a big-time difference maker, especially in the postseason for Philadelphia. I don't believe in the Brewers. I think San Diego's chance was last year. They're a really good team, but I think San Diego had their chance last year. I don't think Chicago's got enough pitching. I think the Mets are kind of falling apart. I feel like maybe the Dodgers to win the World Series at plus 320 is a solid play right now. I don't see anybody beating them. There's just too much talent on that team. But to be honest, like the futures market's kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, it really is. I've been talking about it on the podcast for last month. All these playoff races are just a mess. I mean, if you've just been doing nothing but taking plus money, I think that you're putting yourself in a pretty good spot, because I don't disagree with you. I think that at full force, the LA Dodgers are by far the best team in all of baseball. Will they be at full force? That's something that we just don't know until we get to October, and that's something that is very hard to be able to forecast. So we've got a lot of intrigue here in the last month of the regular season. Johnny, you're doing such a great job of taking a look at this great sport, both day to day and on the awards market as well. And I know you're getting set for some football as well. So love the good people at home. Know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at _JohnnyVTV, at Rotowire. I'm putting out all my videos. I'm actually working on an article right now. Got my podcast Breaking Bat every Wednesday right now until I update it for the season. Greg, I also have something for everybody. One thing that I think is at least interesting to take a shot on, if you're ready for this.
All right.
Is to bet the Washington Nationals at the Yankees plus 220.
Ooh.
Cade Cavalli, my guy from Oklahoma, Skip Johnson's school of pitching has been really good since he's returned to the major leagues, coming off Tommy John that sidelined him for basically 2 years. I really like Cade Cavalli a lot. I feel like the start he's had, he's got the stuff that he can really silence a Yankees lineup that has some boppers in there. I know Max Fried's going, but I just think, like we're talking about this, the MLB baseball, it's so high variance that even if, say, Fried has a good start and Cavalli matches him and it goes to the bullpens, like, why not? Washington's got some sluggers in that lineup. I think plus 220 is at least worth a little bit of a sprinkle here on the Nats on Wednesday for Cade Cavalli Day.
Yep, and it is going to be very key that Cade Cavalli gives a good start, because, man, that Washington Nationals bullpen has costed us a lot of good money line prices on the Washington Nationals this year, so that's going to be big. But Cavalli has been very rock solid, to your point. Sub-3 ERA, keeping the ball in the yard. He has been great. Not quite as great as Johnny Venezia, though, who does such an absolutely tremendous job over at Rotowire. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Johnny for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Johnny Venezia. He does such great work over at Rotowire. I know that he's doing a great job with his own podcast, the Breaking Bet Podcast, which you're able to get that wherever you find this fine podcast. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to Johnny for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we do get things started with 9:51, 9:52 on the card, the Atlanta Braves are on the road. They're facing off against the Miami Marlins. Ryan Gusto is on the bump for Miami. Joey Wentz is on the bump for Atlanta, and Atlanta find themselves as a mid-sized favorite, -120 to a -132. Even money to +116 is that number on Miami. 8.5 is the total. Over and under, both at -110. Set the Braves at a -113. So seeing some +114, seeing some +116. I'm going to be willing to fire in on the Miami Marlins. Now, Joey Wentz has been a whole heck lot better when he's been with the Atlanta Braves rather than the other stops, as this is team number 3 of the season for Joey Wentz. Overall for the season, he's rocking a 5.25 ERA. He's been not really giving up the deep ball no matter who he's been with this far this season, by the way, as he's only been giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but the 4.3 walks per 9 innings have been an issue. Now with the Atlanta Braves, this ERA goes down to a 3.79. He has allowed in his 38 innings, 8 total appearances, only 2 home runs with the Atlanta Braves, but still giving up 3.3 walks per 9 innings. A little bit of a pitcher contact guy with about 8 punch-outs per 9 innings, so you do have your issues there. And then on the flip side of things, you've got a guy in Ryan Gusto who's been able to get a little bit north of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but for Gusto, he's been giving up the deep ball, and he too is a guy that has been giving up quite a few walks in his time between Miami and the Houston Astros. He's rocking a 5.05 ERA, fielding dependent more around a 4.11 though, 1.3 home runs, down to about 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He, with the Houston Astros, had a little bit north of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. The small sample size with the Miami Marlins, 8 strikeouts in 12 innings, but that should be going northward. And he does face off against an Atlanta Braves team that has been in the top 7 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game since the beginning of the month of July, as you've got Ronald Acuna Jr. back in the fold, over a 400 on base. He has been absolutely amazing for this team, and you've got a pair of guys who have been able to supply 19 and 20 home runs apiece in Matt Olson and Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna only hitting for a 229, but the on-base percentage is closer to a 360. Matt Olson right around about 360 on base as well. Still have Nick Allen hitting for 0 home runs. That's been a little bit of an issue for the team, and obviously Austin Riley being out of the fold has hurt them. But Michael Harris, even though his on-base percentage is like a 275, 15 plus home runs, he's been able to move the line. Ozzy Albies has been a little bit better as well. And for the Miami Marlins right now, they're being hurt by the fact that Kyle Stowers, 25 home runs, over a 370 on base. He's on the injured list. That is your main masher, but Xavier Edwards at the top gives you about a 360 on base. Jacob Marcy in a small sample size, hitting above a 300. Only had 2 guys in the starting lineup yesterday with over 7 home runs. Otto Lopez with 11, hitting at 240. Augustin Ramirez, less than a 300 on base, 18 home runs. But Alberto Hernandez is able at about a 270. Liam Hicks is able to give you 350 on base. And since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a Miami Marlins bullpen that has been the top 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. Lake Picard, Ronnie Enriquez, Tyler Phillips, Anthony Bender, all these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. And for the Atlanta Braves, Raciel Iglesias, Aaron Bummer, these guys posting up an ERA well above a 375 have been an issue. Dylan Lee has been solid. Desbel Hernandez, Pierce Johnson, they're giving you a sub 325 ERA, but in the end, I do think that the Miami Marlins should not be quite this big of an underdog, plus 114 or higher. I'm going to be willing to go in on that money line. Miami is second worst in the National League in terms of runs per game at home with about 3.8. Pitcher-friendly ballpark. I do think that both of these guys give you a good start, so I might tell it at 8.2, so you're at the 8.5, also in on the under. 953, 954 on the card. The Mets play host to the Philadelphia Phillies. Taijuan Walker goes for the Phils. Nolan McLean goes for the Mets, and McLean hopes to keep it clean as a minus 140 to a minus 150 favorite, plus 122 to a plus 127 is that number on the Phils. 8.5 is the total, over is minus 120, under is even. This number feels like it's gotten a little bit out of whack. I set my Phillies money line price at a plus 118, so being able to get a plus 120 or greater, I'm going to be willing to dive in on that money line with Mr. Taijuan Walker. It's been a much better year this year than it was last year. Now, probably he's doing for a little bit of regression on that 344 ERA as he's got a fielding dependent of a 477, only 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has limited the deep ball from 2.6 home runs per 9 innings last year down to 1.4 this year, but that's still relatively high, about 3 walks per 9 innings, but he has recently been in great form. 8 runs allowed over the course of his last 5 starts, and then for Nolan McLean, he's a young gun who has only made 2 career starts, but in those first 2 career starts, he's been pretty rock solid. He, in those 2 starts, has went 12 and a third innings, allowed 2 runs, 15 strikeouts in 12 and a third innings, so you absolutely love to see that. If you want to go back a little bit further to what he was doing at the AA and AAA level this season, 245 ERA, 10 strikeouts, was giving up 4 walks per 9 innings, but all in all, a very, very promising pitcher for the Mets. And for the Mets, this is a top-heavy lineup as you've got a quartet of guys who will be able to give you at least 20 home runs as far this season, with Juan Soto most certainly leading the way. He has been able to give you 32 home runs. He's posting up about a 380 on base. Pete Alonso has been able to give you 25 plus home runs as well, but you have been having a little bit of a hit or miss season out of Francisco Lindor as he's been dealing with a little bit of a lower body injury. Has been a bit better recently. He's up to 25 home runs this season. Then you've got Brandon Nimmo, who's been able to give you 20 home runs, hitting about a 255, and now Mark Vientos is starting to pick it up. He's hitting about a 240. He's up to 12 home runs after it's been a shaky season for him. They've had Luis Torrens playing a lot at the catcher spot. He and Tyrone Taylor don't give you much at the plate, and the big issue for the Mets has been the fact that Ryan Helsley out of the bullpen has just not been great for this team, to say the least. He is posting up well above a 6 ERA since he joined the Mets. Tyler Rogers has been solid. Gregory Soto has been okay, but I just have no faith whatsoever in Gregory Soto. You've been able, though, get some relatively good innings out of a few other guys, like Justin Hageman has been able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA. You've got Reed Garrett, Edwin Diaz, obviously doing a rock solid job in this bullpen. And then on the other end for the Philadelphia Phillies, you've gotten really good production out of Yohan Duran. That has been one of the better trade deadline pickups out there in all of baseball. And you've got Matt Strom, Orion Kerkering, Tanner Banks. These guys have been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA, but you still have had the likes of Jordan Romano along with Joe Ross really not giving you too much in this bullpen. Both of those guys posting up a north of 4.50 ERA. It is a Phillies team that is a little bit different with regards to their offense away from home rather than at home, but you've had Kyle Schwarber just continue to be absolutely tremendous for the team. 45 plus home runs, over at 370 on base, and now Bryce Harper is starting to pick it up in terms of the power as well. Mr. Harper has done a tremendous job giving you 21 home runs. He's up to about a 360 on base. You've got Trey Turner give you about a 355 on base. He's up to 32 stolen bags, 14 home runs. You've had Nick Castellanos hit for about a 260, and you've got JT Realmuto hitting at 275. Alec Boehm's been able to hit about a 280 as well. And with the Philadelphia Phillies, I do think that they should be able to get to Noah McLean a little bit here. I think that they dive in on that bullpen as well. So I tell it at 8.6 says I do think that Taijuan Walker's doing for a bit of regression. So at the 8.5, I like the over, and plus 120 or greater, I'm in on the Phillies money line. 955, 956 on the card. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers, as Quinn Priester is on the bump for the Crew and Ryan Nelson is on the bump for Arizona. Arizona does find themselves as a underdog between plus 118 to a plus 123. You've got minus 130 to minus 144 on the Brewers with a total of 8.5. The over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and for Arizona, I did set them at a plus 172. I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Milwaukee Brewers. For Quinn Priester, I recognize that the fielding dependent does not quite match up with the ERA because he is a little bit of a pitcher contact guy. Overall for the season, Priester getting 7.3 strikeouts at 3.2 walks per 9 innings, 3.44 ERA with a 4.36 fielding dependent, but just has been really effective in terms of not giving up a lot of super duper hard contact. It is a Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that is without Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor, but they still have some nice firepower in there. I recognize that they're not quite as good now, but still 6th in the league in terms of runs per game entering into the day on Tuesday. You've been able to have Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte give 23 home runs, has slowed down with the power, but has not slowed down with his on-base percentage. His on-base percentage still hovering about a 380 to a 390. You've got Corbin Carroll, who coming off the injured list a few weeks ago, he was relatively rough. He's been able to refine it, hitting at 250. He's been able to give you 26 plus home runs. Geraldo Perdomo continues to give you above a 380 on base. Some of the young guys just have not been great. Jake McCarthy, Blaze Alexander, both hitting below a 230. You need a little bit more there, but they're getting Pavin Smith off the injured list, above a 340 on base for him. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, you've really only got one guy in the lineup that is healthy right now that is above 14 home runs. Christian Yelich, he's been able to give you 26 home runs, but it's just everyone moving the line for the team. Yelich, Bryce Terang, William Contreras, Sal Frelick, along with Blake Perkins. All these guys are just giving you north of a 335 on base, aside for Perkins, who's been right in that neighborhood, but I think it goes up and down because he's got such a small sample size of at-bats. Andrew Vaughn, ever since he joined the Brewers, over a 370 on base. He has been tremendous. You've had Isaac Holmes give you over a 370 on base, and for the Brewers, since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a top 17 in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've got a lot of guys who are posting up a sub 325 ERA. Nick Mears, Ebner Uribe, Trevor McGill, along with DL Hall, a little bit of a long guy. These guys have all been able to come in, hold down the fort, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you simply just don't have that. They are in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. As a matter of fact, bottom 5 in the big leagues. John Curtis with 2 assists has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, and Andrew Selfrank has been solid, but then you get into the likes of Kyle Bacchus, Juan Murillo, Jalen Beeks, Jake Woodford, all these guys posting up an ERA well above a 4, and it's unfortunate for a guy in Ryan Nelson who's only giving up 1 home run and 2.4 walks per 9 innings, 363 ERA. Fielding dependent is very much in line with that, as his strikeout numbers are not great, but they've been getting a little bit better. He's now up to getting about 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. So very interesting circumstance here with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I did have to set them as a sizable underdog. Love the way that this Brewers team is rolling. So the Brewers down to minus 172. So like the Brewers on the money line, and I did sub till it at 8.8. So here at the 8.5, I'm also in on the over. 957, 958 on the betting board. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They walk the plank to the road to face off against the St. Louis Cardinals, as Sonny Gray is going to be going for the Cards, and Braxton Ashcraft hopes to not be a load of Ashcraft for the Pirates. And as of right now, most places have this game off the board. I was trying to see if there was any sort of opener, and I am not finding one as I am currently doing this podcast, but I've got my handicap. I did set the Cardinals at a minus 177 on the money line. I would be looking more at a run line on the Cardinals. I would be looking at a plus 112 or higher on that run line, plus 178 or higher, looking at the Pirates money line, and set a low total of 7.6, 7.5 or less. I'm in on the over and 8 or higher to the under. Now, Sonny Gray is on a miserable run right now. For Sonny Gray, things have just completely toilet bowled for him. 4.33 ERA, but if you look at the advanced numbers, 327 fielding dependent, 10 strikeouts to 1.5 walks per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, has given up at least 3 runs in 4 out of his last 6 starts, and he's had a few less than savory ones, but this dates back to just really since he joined the St. Louis Cardinals, he has been a whole heck of a lot better when he has been at home rather than when he has been on the road. For this season, you've got a guy in Sonny Gray who has a 3.76 home ERA, which I recognize is not amazing, but he gives up about 1 home run per 9 innings at home. For Sonny Gray, he's giving up over 1.6 home runs per 9 innings away from home. That ERA goes up to a 5.24. And for Braxton Ashcraft, he's actually been pretty solid since he got promoted to being a starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Was rock solid in the bullpen overall between being a starter and a relief piece. A 2.70 ERA, 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only given up 1 home run in 46 and 2/3 innings thus far this season. And in his 3 starts, he hasn't delivered a ton of length, 13 1/3 innings, but he's only given up 2 runs and he's had 15 strikeouts. So he's been highly effective. Goes up against a Cardinals team that ever since the All-Star break, they have been a bottom 5 team in terms of run scoring. I do think that they're going to pick it up a little bit. Wilson Contreras has been rock solid for this lineup as he's been supplying 19 home runs, give you about a 345 on base, but unfortunately got suspended for apparently some sort of a tirade, so that hurts a St. Louis Cardinals offense that really needs them. And then you've got Alec Burleson hitting a 290, 16 home runs, having Brendan Donovan and his nearly 285 average out of the fold. That's been hurting this team, but you do have back of Herrera. He's been able to give you over a 350 on base. Just the young guys in general, you're expecting a little bit more out of them. Likes of Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott. These guys hitting at 235 or lower have been an issue. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've got 3 guys on the roster with above 7 home runs as far this season. O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, and Andrew McCutchen. And there's just a lot of guys that are not hitting for average for this team. As for the Pirates, you've got Lovar Piguero, Jared Trollo, the aforementioned Cruz, Henry Davis, Jack Swiniski. These guys are all hitting at 220 or lower, so massive issues on that front. Now, for the Pittsburgh Pirates, the bullpen hasn't been amazing, but it hasn't necessarily been terrible either. Chase Shogert is currently not with the team, but you've got Dennis Santana, Isaac Madsen, who have been able to supply a sub-350 ERA. Carmen Molodzinski, when he's been coming out of the bullpen, has not been bad. As a starter, this guy was just a complete failure, but when he was coming out of the bullpen, he's been able to give you an ERA that has been hovering more in that neighborhood, about a 3, so that's relatively solid. And on the other end, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they trade away Ryan Helsley, but no problems for them, as you've got the likes of Kyle Leahy, Jojo Romero, guys like this that have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA out of that bullpen. Though I will say you've been having Matt Savanson acting up a little bit in this bullpen, but you do get a Pirates team that's currently dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, so I do think that you get a low-scoring slog, 7.5 or less. I'm in on the over 8 or higher or the under. I set it to where a plus 112 or higher. Looking at the Cardinals on the run line, plus 178 or higher. Going to be looking at the Pirates on the money line. 959, 960 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road to face off against the LA Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is on the bump for the Dodgers, and right now it's all to be determined on the bump for the Cincinnati Reds. This is a game that's off the board, and right now the expectation is that Nick Lodolo, who's been spending some time injured and on the injured list, should be good to go to be able to make this start. And if you do indeed get Nick Lodolo on the bump, this would, by the way, be his first start since August 1st. I did set the Dodgers at a minus 165 on the money line. I'd be willing to go a plus 120 or higher on that run line. Would need at least plus 166 to go out on the Reds and set a total of an 8.7, 8.5 or less, and on the over 9 or higher to the under. Now, if this is a Reds bullpen game, this is probably closer to about a minus 190 to a minus 195 on the Dodgers, and pretty much even money or better. We'll be looking at their run line, and that would go 9 or less to the over, 9.5 or higher to the under. I'm not going to go too deep on Nick Lodolo just because we don't know if he's going to get the start or not, but prior to him going on the injured list, he had allowed 400 runs over his last 5 starts, and he was really getting things innings going. Allowing just 1.7 walks per 9 innings, 3.05 ERA. He's been really good, and that's why you've got such a big differential between he and the bullpen game, because even though I love fading guys coming off the injured list, Nick Lodolo coming off the injured list is better than what you're going to get in terms of the Reds bullpen. And if you do get a lot of the Reds bullpen, which even if you do get a Nick Lodolo start, you're probably going to be staring at quite a few guys coming out of the bullpen, like a Brent Suter is able to give you multiple innings, 3.50 ERA. Lewis Mays give you about a 3.50 ERA. Graham Ashcraft has been a starter in the past. He's been posting up about a 3.72 ERA. A lot of pedestrian guys. And then you got Tony Santee and Emilio Pagan give you a sub-3 ERA, though Pagan does give up quite a few home runs. And for the Reds, this has been about a league average offense. Even though you don't necessarily have a ton of power with this team, Ellie De La Cruz has been your main masher. Been stuck on 19 home runs for quite a while, but 345 on base. He's been able to give you 31 stolen bases. You do have plenty of guys that move the line, get on base. Neil Marte is hitting a 295. TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux. These are guys give between about a 355 to a 365 on base. Austin the Say's kid has been able to hit for about a 265, and then you've been able to have 16 home runs out of Spencer Sear, though he's only hitting a 235. And then on the other end for the LA Dodgers, this team is number one in all of baseball in terms of runs per game at home. The issue is, without Max Muncy in the month of July, this team was actually in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and Muncy is back on the injured list. You do have Will Smith getting jiggy with it, though. 4 on base, he's been able to supply 15 home runs. You've got Freddie Freeman up to 18 home runs, 375 on base, and then obviously Shohei Ohtani, he's doing a little bit of everything, a 380 on base. He's been able to slug out the deep balls. He has been able to supply this team with over 40 home runs this season. It's been remarkable. And then you've got Andy Paz, Teoscar Hernandez, both being able to supply 21 home runs apiece as well. So, you've got the firepower with the Dodgers lineup. I do think that they are going to be able to get a solid performance here out of Shohei Ohtani on the mound, as well as for Shohei Ohtani, he did have a little bit of a rough go of it a few weeks ago when he was going up against the LA Angels, but overall, he's been able to do a pretty rock solid job in terms of providing this team with some good starts. As you take a look at what he's been able to do, and now he's been able to go more like 4 to 5 innings in his last few starts, so that very much helps out this team. But his strikeouts per 9 rate is hovering right in the neighborhood about a 10 to a 10.5. He does have a 4.61 ERA, but he hasn't really been giving up the deep ball too much at all, and his 10 starts only 27 and a third inning, so obviously you'd like to see that be going northward a little bit, but he has shown that in the last few starts. He has won 4+ innings in each out of his last 3 starts. They get a little bit lit up in Coors Field, so that was a little bit less than tremendous, but still, 2 home runs allowed in 27 and 2/3 innings. He is not giving up a lot of walks as well, 5 walks in 27 and a third innings, so do think that he goes out there, gives you a relatively good start. If it is Lodolo versus Ohtani, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. Bullpen game, 9 or less to the over, 9.5 or higher to the under for the Dodgers, plus 120 or better on the run line against Lodolo, even money or better against the bullpen game. And if it is Lodolo going for the Reds, plus 166 or higher looking at the Reds bullpen game, we need closer to about a plus 190 to a plus 195. 961, 962 on the card. The Cubs are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Carson Weisenhunt is on the bump for the Giants, and Colin Ray says hit Pepper to another start for the Cubs, and the Cubs, who find themselves between minus 118 to minus 135 favorites, plus 104 to a plus 115 is that number on San Francisco. It is a total. The over is minus 120 and the under is even, and for the Giants, set them at a plus 144, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Chicago Cubs. For Weisenhunt, he hasn't been too bad in his first 4 starts. If you look at the raw ERA, it's a 4.91, which isn't amazing, but it's not terrible. But he's given up 2.5 home runs and 4.4 walks per 9 innings, 688 fielding independent. That's not great. Now, for the Chicago Cubs, if you look ever since the All-Star break, this has been a bottom 6 team in terms of runs per game. I think that they are going to be able to bust out sooner rather than later, though. Pete Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, both of these guys have just not hit for a lot of power recently. You've got a combined 55 home runs between these two guys. Suzuki, 27 home runs. Crow Armstrong, 28 home runs. I think that they've got a combined 1 home run over the last 2 weeks, so that's been a little bit of an issue, but you still have guys that are finding a way on base. Nico Horner is hitting at 290 for this team. Kyle Tucker, 375 on base with 21 home runs. Michael Busch, 340 on base, 24 home runs. Ian Happ has been able to do a solid job giving you 16 home runs. Not necessarily a ton of average out of him, but Carson Kelly gives you over a 350 on base. And then on the other end, you've got a bunch in the San Francisco Giants as dead last in the National League in terms of run production at home. For the Giants, you have had Willie Adames supply 22 home runs, but he's hitting below 200 over the last 35 days. For the season, hitting just a 225. Eloy Ramos is up to 15 bombs. He's been able to give you about a 330 on base. And then Matt Chapman, he's back after being on the injured list, hitting for just a 227 with regards to the average, 337 on base. He's up to 16 home runs, and it's been up and down. In terms of the bottom of the lineup, entirety of the catcher spot is hitting below 220. Tyler Fitzgerald has been hitting about a 220. Casey Schmidt has been able to give you about 320 on base, so he's been able to do something. And Dom Smith has been able to about 280 as well, so these guys have been relatively solid. And for the Giants, even though they do trade away Camilo Duvall, Tyler Rogers, and Eric Miller is on the injured list, this continues to be a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Randy Rodriguez give you a sub 2 ERA. Jose Buto has been able to give you sub 3 ERA. Joey Lucchesi has been a little bit up and down along Carson Seymour, but I do think that for the Giants, they're going to be able to get some effective bullpen pitching. And then Colin Ray has been pitching to a lot of contact thus far this season. 3.96 ERA, 4.61 fielding, depending with only 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. And he has been allowing closer to about 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings thus far this season, but he limits the walks, and he has been able to do a nice job recently. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 4 starts, backed up by a Cubs bullpen that has been a little bit up and down this year, but like so Brad Keller, Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomeranz, Caleb Theobar, they've all been able to give you a sub 275 ERA, so do think that the Cubs go out there, get the job done. Set my money line price at a minus 144, so look in there, and I did set my total at an 8.7. Here at an 8, I'm going to be in on the over. 963 and 964 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians play also Tampa Bay Rays. Drew Rasmussen is on the bump for the Rays, and Slade Cecconi goes for the Guardians. Guardians who find themselves as underdogs, anywhere between even money to plus 116, and between minus 120 to minus 132 is that number on the Rays, with a total of 8. The over and the under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and with the Rays, I set them at a minus 106 on the money line, so being able to get a plus 108 or higher with the Cleveland Guardians, I'm going to be willing to dive in there. Drew Rasmussen has been really good recently, by the way. For Drew Rasmussen, he has went out there in his last 5 starts, and he has just completely dominated, as he has allowed just 5 earned runs in his last 5 starts, 262 ERA. Not necessarily a strikeout artist, though. He's getting fewer than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 349 fielding dependent. Keep things out in front of him, about 0.9 home runs, 2.3 to 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings, and he is backed up by a Rays lineup that is 12th in the big leagues in terms of run scoring, with about 4.5 runs per game. Junior Caminero doesn't necessarily draw a lot of walks, but that guy has been just pumping out the deep balls all season long, and having Brandon Lau back to be able to give him some production is big. As for Caminero, he's up to 39 home runs this season. Lau, 25 bombs. He's been able to about a 265, and then Yandy Diaz, 22 home runs, 280 average. It is a little bit of top-heavy lineup, as you do have some of the guys at the bottom not necessarily producing for you. Taylor Walls, Christopher Morel, the entirety of the catcher spot, hitting at 225 or lower, but Chandler Simpson, 38 stolen bases, hitting at 300 has been tremendous. Jonathan Aranda being on the injured list has been an issue, and for the Rays overall this season, they've been in the upper half of the big league level in terms of bullpen ERA, though. They did send Eric Gorze down to the minor league level. There's just been a few, shall we say, interesting decisions with his bullpen, like they've got Brian Baker and Griffin Jacks out there who have north of 4 ERA, but you've had Pete Fairbanks along with Garrett Clevenger be very solid. Both of these guys give you a sub 3 ERA. And then for the Cleveland Guardians, this team overall for the season is in the top 7 in terms of bullpen ERA since the beginning of the month of June. It's been in the top 5, as even without having Emmanuel Clase, a lot of these guys have been able to step up, do a solid job. Long Guy and Kobe Allard, Eric Sobrowski, Nick Enright, Jacob Junis, these are all guys who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Hunter Gaddis, after having a little bit of a rough go of it towards the middle part of the season, he's been able to pick it up as well, so I love what they're bringing to the table. And for the Cleveland Guardians, it's been a lineup that has been very top-heavy, as you've got Jose Ramirez supplying 26 home runs with a 360 on base. You've had the leadoff guy in Stephen Kwan hitting for about a 270, but then you just have a cavalcade of different guys. They're in between about a 225 to 235. Carlos Santana, Brian Rocchio, Kyle Manzardo, and Manzardo has been able to hit 21 home runs. Ana Martinez, these guys have been a little bit up and down, and then you got a lot of guys that are hitting below a 225 in CJ Kafis, Gabriel Urias, David Fry, Bo Naylor, Nolan Jones. You just go down the list, and it's not great to say the least, but I do think that Slade Cecconi, after it's been rough for him recently, he is now above a 4.7 with regards to his ERA. He has been giving up about 1.7 to 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more, and a 4.7 ERA in his last 5 starts, as in his last 5 starts he has given up 3+ runs in 4 of them. Overall for the season, 4.41 ERA, but that is backed up by a 4.95 fielding dependent with the 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but I do think that he's able to find it a little bit more here, and I do think that the Cleveland Guardians are going to have his back with that bullpen. Did set my total at 8.4. I do think that there's a bit of regression coming for Drew Rasmussen as well. I'm in on that 8 over, and I'm in on the Cleveland Guardians on the money line. 965, 966 on the card. The Boston Red Sox are On the road, they're facing off against the Baltimore Orioles as Brian Bayo is on the bump for the Red Sox, and it's old to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Orioles, which is why this game is off the board. We are finding a FanDuel opener of a minus 138 on the Red Sox, plus 118 with the Orioles, with a total of 9, and the over is even money, and the under is minus 120. Right now, it looks like Aronisy Contreras is going to be making his season debut for the Orioles, and if that is the case, I did set the Boston Red Sox at a minus 133 on the money line, would take a plus 126 or higher on the run line. So when we do get more of the dime lines out here in lovely Las Vegas, should probably be able to get like a minus 130 or so with the Red Sox, and I would be willing to lay that. As for Aronisy Contreras, he has spent the entirety of the season down at the AAA level, and he hasn't been bad at the AAA level, but again, this is going to be his first start at the big league level. He was just sent up too quickly in the Pirates system a few years ago, and then they transferred him on over to the LA Angels. I was not able to find it with them either. If you look at what he's on over at AAA Norfolk this year, 3.73 ERA. The strikeout stuff is way down for him, only about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's given up 3.2 walks, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. Has been a little bit better recently, but he does leave a little bit of something to be desired. And I will throw this in here as well. I'm seeing reports that there might be an opener in Dietrich Enns going for the Orioles. I'll touch upon him in a second, but that said does not change the handicap, because with Dietrich Enns most likely only going to go an inning or two, as Aronisy Contreras still going to be the bulk guy. That goes for this Baltimore Orioles bullpen as well. As for the Orioles, they're currently in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Just a lot of guys like Corbin Martin, Yunier Cano, Yarmil Hidalgo, Grant Wolfram, who are posting up an ERA well above a 4, even though Keegan Aiken has been pretty solid in this bullpen. Now for the Baltimore Orioles, this is a unit that is averaging about 4.9 runs per game at home. They are pretty much dead last in the American League in terms of run scoring away from home, with less than 3.8 runs per contest, and it is a little bit of a up and down lineup as they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, as you only had 3 guys in the lineup yesterday with over 5 home runs this year. Jackson Holliday up to 15 bombs, hitting about a 245. Gunnar Anderson, 16 bombs, he's hitting about a 285. Colin Cowser hitting for just a 225, but he's up to 12 home runs. But now Jordan Westberg lands on the injured list. Obviously, they trade away so many guys at the trade deadline that it's not even funny. They have still been dealing with a lot of guys in that outfield that have been in and out of the lineup. Whenever Tyler O'Neill has actually been out there, that's been an issue for this team as well. And you've got Basallo, the catcher, who's been able to do a pretty solid job as well. But Natalie Rushman is back on the injured list as well, so that's been an issue for the Red Sox. Weiler Abreu, their top home run hitter with 22 home runs, he's on the injured list, but still have a lot of firepower with a bunch of guys that are sort of hitting in the neighborhood. We're going to call it about a 247 to 260. Jaron Duran, Cedon Rafaela, Carlos Narvaez, Trevor Story, all in that fold, and then Masataka Yoshida just below that at a 242. For Story, it has been Story time with 20 home runs thus far this season. Alex Bregman, 16 bombs, nearly a 375 on base, and Roman Anthony, darn near 4 on base as well. And for the Red Sox, you know that this bullpen is going to be rock solid, top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been one of the best closers in all of baseball. A sub 150 ERA, getting over 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but it's not just him. You then have the likes of Justin Wilson, Garrett Whitlock, Steven Matz. These guys give you a sub 335 ERA. Greg Weisert has been relatively solid, and for Brian Bayo, he's been able to do a really good job of inducing soft contact. As for Bayo, he is not much of a strikeout artist. He has been getting fewer than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. He's keeping the walks down with fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, and he's consistent home to road. 307 home ERA, 306 ERA on the road, albeit he's given up closer to about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings away from home, but I do think that Bayo should be a pretty good size favorite in this one. Did somebody total 9.2 because I do think that Contreras and that bullpen gives up some runs, so at the 9, I do like the over, and for the Red Sox, want to go up to a minus 132 on that money line. 967, 968 on the betting board. The Minnesota Twins are on the road. They're facing off against the Toronto Blue Jays. Eric Lauer is on the bump for the Jays, and Zebby Matthews is on the bump for the Twins. And right now, I am not finding any sort of opener whatsoever on this game, but I've got my handicap. I did set the Blue Jays at a minus 174, so I'd be willing to lay up to minus 173 there, or plus 112 or higher. Looking at the run line, would need at least plus 175 to take a shot on the Twins, and then made a total of an 8.6. In after less, I'm in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under. If you do indeed get Zebby Matthews for the Twins, he is actually doing for a lot of positivity. Like, Zebby Matthews is better than that 5.30 ERA indicates, as his fielding depends at 3.82. He has given up 1.5 home runs at 3 blocks per 9 innings, but 1.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's actually got some relatively good stuff, and for Eric Lauer, he has been able to show off his good stuff all season long. How about a 2.76 ERA paired up with a 3.54 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings, getting nearly 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he has been really rocking and rolling recently as he's given up 8 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts, backed up by a bullpen that is relatively league average. Braden Fisher, Brandon Little, Uriel Rodriguez have been able to give you sub 350 ERA. They pick up Louis Varland at the deadline. He hasn't given you a ton recently, but overall for the season, still posting up a sub 3 ERA. The kicker for the Blue Jays, though, is that they're number 1 in the American League in terms of runs per game at home, right around about 5.25 runs per game at home, as you've got Vlager Jr., George Springer leading the way. 21 home runs for Guerrero this season, 22 for Springer, both above a 380 on base. Bo Bichette hitting a 300 with 16 home runs. Dalton Varsho does not hit for average, but boy does he have for power. 15 home runs and 157 at-bats entering into yesterday while hitting a 229, so that's been helping out the team. Don't call his name Alejandro Kirk. Give you about a 360 on base as well. Edison Barger has been a little bit in and out of the lineup, but he's been able to about a 250 with 18 home runs as well. And then on the other end, it's a Minnesota Twins team that is just gutted in so many different respects. Like all the good bullpen pieces that you had, including Louis Varland, who's currently on the Blue Jays, well, these guys are all gone, which means that you're relying upon likes of Cody Funderburk, along with Michael Tonkin, Cole Sands. These guys are all posting up a north of 355 ERA this season. Justin Topa hasn't been completely terrible, but that's an issue. And for the Twins, you do have a few guys providing some powers. Matt Wallner's up to 19 home runs, but sitting at 214 with a 322 on base. Cody Clemens, 14 home runs, but hitting at 215 this season. You've got Byron Buxton, move the line with a 330 on base, 25 home runs. He's been solid. And Royce Wilson's coming out the injury list has been much better. Ryan Jeffers gives you about a 350 on base, and Trevor Larnach is up to 16 home runs, but I do think that Lauer and the Blue Jays should be able to take it to Sebby Matthews. In after less, looking at the over 9 or higher, the under for the Blue Jays, plus 112 or higher. Looking at that run line, plus 175 or higher. In on that Twins money line, 969, 970 on the card. It is the Royals, and they are going to be on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Aaron Savali is on the bump for the White Sox. Ryan Bergert goes for the Royals, and the Royals are mid-sized favorites between minus 115 to a minus 121. Minus 101 to a plus 109 is a number on the Southsiders. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105, and for the Royals, I set them as a Royal minus 149 favorite. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. Now, for Aaron Savali, the one good thing that you could say about him is that he has now given up 2 earned runs or fewer in, I believe, 9 out of his last 15 starts. So he's actually been able to do a relatively okay job with that regard. But when he gets hit hard. 5.02 ERA, 1.3 home runs, 3.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. So he has had his issues there. And for Ryan Bergert, he has been giving up about 3.7 to 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but 2.79 ERA, giving up 1.1 home runs, 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. That includes his time with the San Diego Padres as well. This guy's been very rock solid thus far this season. I really like what I'm seeing out of him, and we've got 2 pedestrian offenses in this one. Both of these teams in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, albeit both of these teams have been a whole heck of a lot better with their offense ever since the All-Star break. Both of these teams have actually been more towards the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run scoring ever since the break, with London Sosa leading the way for the White Sox, 17 home runs, hitting about a 272. Doesn't draw any walks whatsoever, as you've got he, Luis Robert, Andrew Benintendi, and then you're able to throw in there as well Colson, Montgomery, all guys who have been able to give you at least 13 home runs. The only other guys, Miguel Vargas, 317 on base out of him, but all these guys are providing an on base percentage between a 288 to a 300, so that's been a little bit of an issue. The catcher spot has actually been great. Edgar Kiera is hitting a 285, Kyle Teal's been hitting above a 270 as well, but then you've got a lot of guys like a Michael A. Taylor is hitting a 209, the Joshes, Josh Rojas, Joshua Palacios, these guys gave you nothing all season long. You just have not been able to have a lot of consistency in terms of moving the line. Brooks Baldwin, 287 on base with not a lot of power. And for the White Sox, the long guys in the bullpen have been relatively solid, as you've got Tyler Alexander, Tyler Gilbert, Mike Vasil, guys that can give you multiple innings, give you a sub 350 ERA. Steven Wilson has been solid as well, but more of those one-inning guys like Grant Taylor, Brandon Iser, Jordan Leisure, they are posting up an ERA that is above a 4. And for the Kansas City Royals, this is a team that is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Lucas Erceg, Carlos Aceves have been a really good 1-2 punch. Both give you a sub 3 ERA. Daniel Lynch coming out the injured list has been rock solid. He's been able to give you about a 3 ERA. They've had Taylor Clark step up a little bit more as well. He and John Schreiber give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Big with Steven Cruz hitting the injured list. And for the Kansas City Royals, Vinny Pasquantino. This guy is absolutely white hot right now. He's been able to give you 28 home runs overall for the season, but last 30 days entering into yesterday, 11 home runs in his last 105 at-bats, hitting for about a 250, but yeah, that's a lot of power. And then Salvador Perez, he's now up to 22 bombs. He's hitting about a 250 this season. Not a lot of walks being drawn by this team, but Bobby Witt Jr., 355 on base with 19 home runs. Miguel Garcia has been able to hit 300 with 13 home runs. Kyle Isbell hits for about a 265, but only about 4 home runs. And then some of these young guys like a John Rave, Nick Lofton, the currently on the injured list, Jack Caglione, these guys have just not been able to give you a whole heck of a lot, so bottom lineup has been a little bit rough. That said, I do think that the Royals take it to Aaron Savali and get the job done. And what I think is a little scoring game, so by total 7.8, I like the under, and with the Royals, we'll go up to a minus 148 on the money line. 971, 972 on the betting board. It is the Walker, Texas Rangers, and they're going to be playing us the LA Angels. A completely flipped pitching matchup, as we did not know the starters until right around about midnight Eastern time, but Jacob Latt's going to be going in a bullpen game for the Rangers. Jack Kachanowicz is on the bump for the Halos. Right now, this opening total is a 9.5, over and under both at minus 110, and for the Rangers, minus 155 on the money line, between minus 150 to minus 155, plus 130 on the Angels. And if you're looking to lay a run half right now with the Rangers, you're going to be able to get that at a plus 122, and I'm going to be willing to go in on that Texas Rangers run line. I was willing to go a plus 106 or higher. Jacob Latz has actually pitched quite well when he's been given the opportunity this year. He had 6 no-hit innings against the Baltimore Orioles, not fully stretched out, so I don't think that he's going to be able to give you a 6+, but I know overall has been able to hold down the fort. I know that he and Caleb Bouchley pretty much had a piecemeal game against the Royals last week, and for Latz overall this season, 3.05 ERA, 8.5 strikeouts, a 4.3 walks per 9 innings, but limits the deep ball, which is big against an LA Angels team that has been very much all or nothing this far this season. For the Angels, this team is in the top 5 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, bottom 6 in terms of on-base percentage, like Joe Adell setting fire to the rain with 30 home runs, but also setting fire to his 234 average and 298 on base. Taylor Ward has been solid, 30+ home runs, 317 on base. Mike Trout, even he doesn't hit for a lot of average. 20 home runs, 365 on base is great, but he's only hitting a 235 this season. Zach Neto has been pretty solid. He's been able to about a 270. He's been able to do a nice job, be able to put bat to ball 23 home runs, but then you've got the bottom of the lineup as the team has been dealing with a few injuries. Luis Renifo has been out there, but he's been able to give you only about a 295 on base, but you've got the likes of Nico Cavadas, Travis d'Arnaud, Christian Moore hitting a 225 or lower, so that's been an issue. And for the Rangers, this has been an improved lineup, as Wyatt Langford along with Corey Seager have been your main men to be able to supply the deep ball. Seager up to 20 home runs, 365 on base. Langford, 19 bombs. He's been now hitting about a 250 as well. You're not going to get a lot of on-base percentage or batting average out of Adolis Garcia, but he's now been able to give you 17 home runs. Team has dealt with some injuries with Marcus Semien being in and out of the lineup. They've currently got Jake Berger on the injured list, but Kyle Higashioka has been a big reason why since the beginning of the month of July. The Rangers have been averaging closer to about 4.7 runs per game. He's been able to above a 300 now. Ballpark factors show that Texas has been playing very pitcher-friendly this year, and even though it is sort of a bullpen game with Jacob Latt starting, this Rangers bullpen has been in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Lots of mix-and-match guys have been very rock solid for them. They pretty much didn't need to use anyone other than Danny Kalum yesterday with getting 8 solid innings out of Patrick Corbin. That was a nice unexpected surprise. Now you do have Robert Garcia, who has been posting up closer to about a 3.5 ERA, but the likes of a Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. You've been able to have a few guys just unexpectedly, like a Cole Winn, be able to step up as well. And for the LA Angels, this has been a bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and Jack Kachanowicz is just a guy that you want absolutely no part of whatsoever, because that bullpen, other than Brock and Roll Burke along Kenley Jansen, who both give you a sub 3.35 ERA, and Robert Stevenson at a very small sample size hasn't been bad. It's been pretty ghastly as well. Reed Detmers, Ryan Zephyrian, Sam Bachman, these are all guys posting up above a 4 ERA, but they might actually be better than Jack Kachanowicz, who he has been sort of going up and down between the majors and the minors recently. He's already got 10 losses and 22 starts. He's only getting 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up 4 walks per 9, 6.19 ERA. His home runs per 9 rate hovering in the neighborhood about a 1.6, and it's been all sorts of rough for him in terms of giving up the deep ball away from him. He's been giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings as well. So do think that the Rangers are able to take it to him pretty well. I do think that this Rangers bullpen is able to hold up. So I did something I told 9.4 and then 9.5. I'm in on the under end with the Rangers. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on their run line. 973, 974 on the card. The Tigers are on the road. They're facing off against the Athletics as Luis Morales is on the bump for the Athletics, and Casey Mize goes for Detroit. 10.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110. For Detroit, minus 118 to minus 126 is that number on them. Plus 104 to a plus 110 110 is that number on the Athletics, and I did set the Tigers at a minus 139. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line for Luis Morales. In his few starts, he has been effective thus far for the Athletics. Now, he is a little bit wild with regards to command. I still go back to his first start against the Orioles. He gives up no runs in 2 2/3 innings, but gave up 5 walks. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an issue. And you take a look at Morales, he has went a grand total of 15 2/3 innings in his 4 total appearances, so not lending a lot of length. 15 strikeouts at 15 2/3 innings, but he is giving up 4.5 walks per 9 innings, so you do have a little bit of issue there. If you look at what Morales was doing more at the AAA level with the old Aviators, he was giving up about 4 walks per 9 innings, but he was showing off that good swing and miss stuff with 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he sort of is what he is. And then for Casey Mize, not a strikeout artist, he's getting about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has been good at not hurting himself. 1.2 home runs, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, 3.68 ERA, 3.98 fielding opponent. It's been a little bit of a wobbly sort of run for him recently, 3+ runs allowed in 3 of his last 4 starts, and as we know, the run's full like wine out there in Sacramento, as you've got a quartet of guys for the Athletics with at least 23 home runs, and all 4 of these guys have been able to hit at least a 260, as Tyler Soderstrom, he is right now hitting for 23 bombs. Brent Rooker has been able to get 26 bombs, as he's up to hitting about a 265. Jacob Wilson, coming off the injury list, has been great as well, hitting above a 300. Nick Kurtz, 4 on base with 27 home runs. Shea Langoliers, Shea has banged for 29 home runs, and now he's hitting above a 260. It is a little bit of a top-heavy lineup, though. Some of these guys, like a Darnell Hernandez, is not going to give you a lot of power, though. He's been able to about a 260. Gio Urshela has been hitting for a 287 on base. That's honestly been great. JJ Bleday has had his issues all season long, and then for the Athletics, the big issue that you've got is his bullpen. They're currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, you do have Michael Kelly along with Sean Newcomb, who have been very solid in this bullpen. Both of these guys have been able to supply you with a sub-3.25 ERA, and Elvis Alvarado has not been bad. He's been able to give you about a 3.75 ERA, but then you have the likes of Justin Sterner, the guy who had to start yesterday, and Osvaldo Bido, Ben Bowden, so many guys in this bullpen are posting up above a 3.70 ERA. And on the other end for the Detroit Tigers, since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a bottom 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They don't have Chase Lee on the roster as of right now because he just has been awful. Brendan Hennefy has been fine with about a 3.25 ERA. Troy Melton has formed himself into a nice long guy. He, along with Will Vest, are both giving you sub-3 ERA. Why they have Brent Burder at the minor league level makes no sense to me whatsoever, but they do, so there's that aspect of things. But for the Tigers, you've got really good consistency with the lineup. You have on any given night between 7 or 8 guys hitting at least at 259 for this team. Cole Keith, Zach McKinstry, Gary Carpenter, Gleyber Torres, Javi Baez, Riley Green, Wenzel Perez, Dylan Dingler, all these guys are doing a nice job moving the line for the team. Green has been able to give you 31 home runs, Gary Carpenter 22 bombs. Really the lone 2 guys that see starts are currently hitting below a 255 for this team. Spencer Torkelson, 335 on base with 28 home runs. Trey Sweeney is a little bit of a situational guy. He hasn't been able to hit for a ton, but I mean, these guys have been relatively solid. So I do think that you get some scoring in this one. I do think that the 10.5 just a scotch too high. So I tell 10.3, so like the under. And for the Tigers, we'll go up to a minus 130 down the money line. 975, 976 on the card. The Nationals are on the road facing off against the New York Yankees. As you've got Max Fried on the bump for the Yankees, and Cade Cavalli is on the bump for the Washington Nationals. And the Nationals are currently finding themselves as a National League underdog, as right now for the Nationals, you're going to be finding them between about a plus 220 to a plus 250, seeing the Yankees as high as a minus $3 favorite, seeing as low as about a minus 260, and the total on this game, it is at 8.5, the over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. If you're looking to lay a run F with the Yankees, right now, the FanDuel opener is minus 137. I set my opener at a minus 137. We should be able to get like a minus 135 when it's all said and done, so I'm going to be looking at the Yankees run line for Max Fried. It has been a very tumultuous run for him, 3+ runs allowed in 7 out of his last 8 starts, but looked better in his last start against the Boston Red Sox. 0 runs allowed in 6 innings. Can't ask for too much more than that, but the team lost the game by a count of 1-0. Should be able to get more run support than that because, frankly, you can't get any less run support. And for Max Fried, it was a rough run for him in late July into August, but I think he's going to be able to find it once again. Pitches to a little bit more contact than what you'd expect out of an, and I air quotes, your ace pitcher with about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but doesn't hurt himself. 0.8 home runs, runs, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings. And for Cade Cavalli, he's been relatively effective as a starter for the Washington Nationals. It's a small sample size of 4 starts, but 22 and a third innings. He has allowed this far 7 runs. So, yay, verily, they're not getting a lot of strikeouts, 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. But again, not earning himself. 0.8 home runs, 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. You go back to what he was doing at the minor league level this year, was posting up above a 5 ERA. He was getting a few more strikeouts, was giving up a few more walks. So I do think that there might be a little bit of regression for him, especially facing off against the New York Yankees lineup where on any given night, pretty much like all but one of the guys in the starting lineup have at least 16 home runs. It's just absolutely insane. As yesterday, you had all but 2 guys hitting for at least 16 home runs in that starting lineup, with Giancarlo saying right now getting a home run every 10 or so at bats. He's been able to give you above a 350 on base. Aaron Judge, he's been able to give you a 440 on base, 40 home runs. Cody Bellinger's up to 24 home runs. Trent Grisham, Jazz Chisholm, 25 home runs apiece, both giving you over a 330 on base. Paul Goldschmidt has been a little bit of an issue in terms of moving line, but he's been picking up recently. And for the Washington Nationals, you do need a little bit more out of some of these young guys. Dylan Cruz, Riley Adams, both hitting a 215 or lower have been an issue. Whenever you've had Andres Chaparro out there, he hasn't been able to give you too much. Robert Hassel's been able to hit about a 230. The young guys just don't necessarily have a lot of power, as it's been really left to a trio of guys, CJ Abrams, Josh Bell, and James Wood, to supply this. Wood, 26 home runs with about a 340 to a 350 on base, but it's been a little bit cold since home run derby. CJ Abrams is hitting all of his home runs away from home. 17 home runs this season, with 14 of them coming away from home. And Josh Bell, since the beginning of the month of July, hitting above a 265. He's up to 16 home runs this season, so he's been solid. But what's not been solid, it's been this Washington Nationals bullpen, which is dead stinking last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Shinikuzi Ogasawara has actually been halfway decent recently, but likes of Clayton Beater, Connor Pilkington, Jackson Rutledge, Orlando Rebalta, Edward Salazar, Jose Ferrer. Every one of these guys posting up above a 425 ERA. And it's not like the Yankees have been the Mona Lisa vetoes in terms of their bullpen pitching, but you've got Luke Weaver along with Yuri De Los Santos, David Benhart, give you a sub 325 ERA. Devin Williams has been a disaster. Camilo Duvall's not panned out with the Yankees, but Tim also will give you a sub 325 ERA. So with the Yankees, minus 137 or better, I'm going to be looking at that run line. Right now, we're finding that total at an 8.5, so at the 8.5, I'm also going to be in on this total over. 977, 978 on the card. It is the Slam Diego Padres on the road, facing off against the Seattle Mariners. Brian Wu says woohoo to another start, and Yu Darvish is on the bump for the Padres. Padres between plus 108 to a plus 116 underdog, minus 125 to minus 132 is that number on Seattle. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the unders even. And for Seattle, I did set them on the money line at a minus 149. For Brian Wu, he has been a highly effective pitcher that has done a really good job in terms of keeping things out in front of him and not giving out a lot of free passes. As for Mr. Wu, right now he's giving you a 294 ERA for the season. Fielding depends more around about 361 is. So I'll give it up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but 9 punch outs per 9 innings, only about 1.7 walks allowed per 9 innings, and he has given up a grand total of now 6 earned runs over the course of his last 4 starts, 7 plus strikeouts in each out of those 4 starts as well. So really loving what I'm seeing there. And for Darvish, this has just been a disastrous season for him. Has been looking a little bit better recently for Darvish. He has now given up 3 runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, but the swing and miss stuff just is not back for him. 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, that's a career low for him. He's been giving up about 3 walks and 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. I believe he's better than the 5.36 ERA. Fielding dependence of 4.58, and again, he's been pitching much better recently and has gone 6 plus innings in now 3 out of his last 5 starts, and he is going to be backed up by a bullpen for the San Diego Padres that is currently number 1 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Just so many guys going out there giving you a sub 3 ERA. Yuki Matsui's right on that borderline of a 3 ERA, and then you've got Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, along with Jason Adam, all doing a solid job. Wandy Peralta's hovering right around about 3 ERA as well. Robert Suarez has blown a few games, but he's been pretty effective overall for the season. Mason Miller had his issues with the Athletics. He's come over to San Diego. He's been rock solid. What has not been solid for San Diego has been the power. They're in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. You've got Jake Cronenworth to give you about a 360 on base, but he's hitting at 243 with 10 home runs. Expected a little bit more there. Manny Machado, he's been able to give you above a 350 on base. He's up to 21 home runs. Fernando Tatis Jr. has been very cold with regards to power. Finally hit a home run a few days ago. 18 bombs, but he's still giving you about a 360 on base. And then Ryan O'Hearn hasn't really cranked out the deep ball in a Padres uniform, but continue to give you above a 360 on base, 16 home runs this season. And then Ramon Laureano, between his time with the Orioles and the Padres, he's up to 20 bombs, so that helps you out. And then on the other other end for the Seattle Mariners, a little bit of an all-or-nothing team, and Eugenio Suarez, since coming on over from the Diamondbacks, has been hitting below the middle line of 200, but for the season, between his time with the Saints and the Mariners, 40 home runs, and then you've got big dumper Cal Raleigh, entered into yesterday with 50 home runs at above a 350 on base. JP Crawford is giving you about a 350 on base. You've been able to get really good production as well out of Randy Rosarena along with Julio Rodriguez. Rosarena 340 on base with 24 home runs. You've had Julio Rodriguez be able to fly the deep ball. He's been able to give you 25 plus bombs. And for the Seattle Mariners, overall for the season, slightly above average with regards to their bullpen ERA, but the top guys have been great. Gabe Spire, Edward Bazardo, sub 325 ERA, and then Matt Brash, Andres Munoz. Both of these guys have been so effective late in games, both giving you a sub 225 ERA. And then with the Padres, if you just take a look at the way that they have been hitting on the road, it's been one of the worst marks that you're going to find in all of baseball as well, and that does have me a little bit bearish on them. They're only averaging 4 runs per game away from home thus far this season. That is actually third worst in the National League behind the Pirates and the Colorado Rockies, so do think that the Seattle Mariners go out there, get the job done. I did set my total at a 7.7, so seeing that 7.5, I think that we've got a go too low. I like the over, and I do like the Seattle Mariners up to a minus 148 on the money line, and wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Astros play out to the Rockies as Chase Dollander goes for the Rockies. On Framber Valdez is on the bump for Houston. Houston, a whopping minus 320 to a minus 345 favorite, between plus 266 to a plus 282 as Anaheim and Colorado. 8 is the total. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. And if you're looking to lay a run half with the Astros, you're still going to be laying a lot of juice here. That is currently at a minus 130, which I thought that this was actually going to be much worse than a minus 130. Sign me up there. I thought this was going to be like a minus 150 or something. I set mine at a minus 165, so that's very effective. Again, don't always trust those FanDuel openers with regards to the run line, because this is probably going to be more than a minus 130 when this podcast comes out, but if you get a minus 130, that's absolutely great. That said, with regards to Framber Valdez, it has been a miserable run for him. He has given up at least 4 runs at each out of his last 4 starts, but overall, if you look at the season numbers, 332 ERA, 308 fielding dependent, only giving up 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. And the good news is he gets to go up against a Rockies team that's dead last in the big leagues in terms of on-base percentage on the road. On the road, they're averaging 2.9 runs per game. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. That is dead last in the big leagues. And this is despite the fact that Hunter Goodman has actually hit relatively well on the road. Hunter Goodman overall for the season has been able to supply you with 25 home runs, but majority of those have come on the road. 15 home runs, hitting at 265 away from home, but then you just have a cavalcade of different guys for the team. They're hitting at 217 or lower on the road this far this season. Mickey Moniak, Jordan Beck, Orlando Arcia. They're on there Ezekiel Tovar, who's been in and out of the lineup all season long. Brenton Doyle, Sean Borcher, whenever you've gotten the slim amount of at-bats there. Michael Taglia, all these guys have just been ineffective. And then you've got a Rockies bullpen that's currently 29th out of 30 teams in terms of their ERA. Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, both of these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but have a lot of issues with the likes of Nick Anderson, Anel Shavili, the currently injured Zach Ognos. These guys have been very much less than effective, posting up an ERA well above a 450. Now, I will say this for Chase Dollander. You look at the overall season numbers, not great. 691 ERA. He's been getting 7.5 strikeouts, 4.4 walks per 9 innings, allowing darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings. Serviceable pitcher away from home, though. On the road for Dollander, 395 ERA, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Not Cy Young numbers, but you know what, effective. But you do have to go up against an Astros bullpen as well. That has been in the top 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Recognize that currently they're dealing with Josh Hader being out of the fold, and whenever you have Craig Kimbrell out there, that's not great. But likes of Caleb Ord, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Steven Okert, these guys have been able to give you sub 325 ERA. They did have to put Bennett Sosa on the injured list. That hurt them a little bit, but for the Astros, it's been a little bit of hit or miss lineup all season long. Jose Altuve is starting to look like the guy that we all know and love. 22 home runs, hitting at 275, and then you've got a pair of guys that don't really give you a lot of on base, and Christian Walker, Yanier Diaz, 302 on base or less, but Diaz is hitting for a 257, 18 home runs. Walker's up to 19 bombs this season. They've been missing Isaac Paredes here over the last few weeks, but Victor Garantini, 11 home runs, about a 320 on base. Jake Myers has been able to give you about a 370 on base. So you've got some effective guys. The guys towards the bottom, Taylor Trammell, who he had a very unfortunate injury a few days ago. Chas McCormick, these guys have just really not been effective, so it's been a little bit of top-heavy lineup, and I do think that the Astros go out there and just completely hold down the Rockies. I set my total at 7.1. I like the under, and getting that minus 130, I would be willing to go up to about a minus 165. I'm in on the Astros run line, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Johnny Venezia. He does great work over at Rotowire and the Breaking Bet Podcast. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you, for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season and the postseason, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.